So I am here with Paw Patrol's mom, and we are here for this teacher-student conference. And I'm just gonna go into that. So thank you for coming. First off, Paw Patrol is a great student. I love having him in our class. He's just the best helper. Whenever a door needs to be held open, he's always willing to do that. He's always willing to get materials for his group whenever we need it, whether it's pencils or headphones or whatever it is. He's always willing to do that. He also is just always really positive, and he's just always ready to get to work when he comes to school, and that's just so good. He sets a really good example for the other students. And he's also just like a friend to everyone. Like, he's always coming up to me to give me a high five or a hug, which I love. And he is very active. He really enjoys recess. You know, that's like his main topic that he writes about during writing time. He just loves recess. He loves playing tag. He's very inclusive with his peers when it comes to playing, which is awesome. And with that, he's also just very mature when it comes to sharing, which is interesting. So like just last week, there was another student and him. They during our centers time, they both wanted to sit in the same spot. And so I went over there. I didn't know which student had gotten there first, so I was just kind of talking with them, and Paw Patrol ended up letting the other student have the seat and chose a different spot. And there was no crying, no tantrums, which normally is what happens in situations like that. And so it was just really cool seeing how considerate he was in that situation. So we are here to talk about just Paw Patrol's literacy abilities, and I just want to share with you like his strength and areas of improvement that we can work on, and just kind of give you an overall view of that. And so what I've been doing is I've been administering different assessments to kind of assess his abilities in that. And so just to give you kind of like a layout of what those assessments are. First, we have the Burke reading interview, where it's just an interview where I talk to him, kind of try to get some insights into what he views that a good reader does, and kind of some insights into his own perceptions of himself as a reader. So that's the first one. Then we did some running records, which is where Paw Patrol just reads some books, and I take notes as he reads. I take note of any like miscues that he has, any correct words that he says, any self-corrections that he does as he's reading, and any other observational notes that I observe when he's reading. That'll help me get, at the end I kind of look at all those, and it helps me get a better idea of what strategies he's using as he reads. We also did some retelling tests, which is just to work on to assess comprehension. He reads or listens to a story, and then we ask him to retell what happened, and just to see if he's able to recount what happened in the story. We also did an early names test, which is where he's given a list of made-up names, and he's supposed to read them out loud, and it's to kind of look at his phonics abilities, and just to see if what words he can pronounce and which ones he struggles with. And then we also looked at several of his writing samples, and I took note of grammar, sentence structure, just the overall message that he's trying to convey, and compared that. And then lastly we did a PSI, which is a primary spelling inventory, which is basically just a spelling test, but it's set up in a way that it helps me assess what developmental level or stage that he's at in his spelling. So from all that, I noticed some really good things with Paw Patrol, and 3 really, really good strengths that he has. First one is that he has a very positive view of himself as a reader and a writer, which is so good, because that's what we need, because that helps with motivation to continue to develop those skills as a reader and a writer. And so just kind of how we came to understand that. So the Burke's reading inventory, one of the questions I asked was to describe yourself as a reader, and his response was, I'm a really good reader, which is awesome. And then another one was using a scale of 5 to 1, with 5 being a terrific reader. What overall rating would you give yourself as a reader? And he immediately exclaimed 5. And so that just shows that he's very confident, and that's awesome, and we need to keep that up. And also with the PSI, I noticed this, the same confidence in himself. So I gave him the word blade, which is kind of difficult for his age right now, because it starts with a digraph with the BL sound, and it also covers the long A vowel, and with the silent E at the end, and we have not explicitly taught that in class yet. So I knew it was difficult, but I just wanted to see what he would do. And he responded, he was like, that's a hard word, which totally valid. But then he paused, and then he said, but I'll try my best. And that is just so good. We all need to be more like Paw Patrol when it comes to hard things. It just shows that he is confident, and he is, willing to try to get better, which is great. Another strength that I saw was he's very good at segmenting, which is being able to identify the different sounds and words, which is so helpful for this beginning stage of reading, and when it comes to writing. Also, that's from the Burke reading inventory interview. So some of the questions asked, what does a good reader do? And he kept responding with they stretch the sounds in the words, they say the sounds in the words, when they need to spell something, they say the sounds in the words. So that's really good that he's able to do that. And in the sentence dictation task, which is where I gave him a sentence, read it out loud to him, and then I went through it again and read each word and then he would write down that word. But as we were writing, when I would say the word, he would sound out the word. So for bus, I would say bus, and he would go bus, and then he would write down the sounds that he heard, which is so good. And then the third big strength that we saw was that he's very active when he reads. He's an active meaning maker, which is just a great skill to have as a reader and a writer. So for a running record, so for this story, one of the words says, it was supposed to be chick, but he said duck. But from that miscue, we can tell he was using the visual images, because there was a duck on the page, or a chick, and also he was using the image of the word chick, noting the ending sound with CK, which is the same in duck. And so that's good that it's showing that he is using visuals, and as we read, we are visual readers, so we need that strategy when we do that. And also with another running record, the word was package, but he again used the visual image and said box, which is good. But what's interesting about that one is he got to the end of the phrase and then realized that he had misread that word because it didn't look the same, right? So he repeated, and when he repeated, he fixed it and said package, which is awesome. Because as we read, we should be taking note. We should be active readers. We should note the things that miscues, and then we go back and we correct them. And that's what he did. And so that is so awesome that he's doing that. See that? So, when it comes to these strengths, we want him to continue to progress in these. So I have some strategies that I'm going to be using in school, and then I also have some strategies to suggest for you to use at home, just so that we can both be working with him to continue to strengthen these strengths, because there's always more to improve on. And so going with the first one, with that positive view of himself, we just need to continue to give him opportunities to feel successful in reading and writing. So school strategy that I can use is collaborative literacy activities, so having him work with other students as he's writing something or writing a story. In this way it gets him engaged with other students, they're learning from each other, and they're both there to support one another to be successful in that task. For a home strategy, you can invite Paw Patrol to participate in authentic literacy activities. So this could include writing the grocery list or reading the grocery list when you're going shopping. Just giving him like those real, authentic tasks that in your lives that you guys use writing and that you use reading. Just emphasizing that and showing that and giving him those opportunities to practice his skills as a reader and a writer. When it comes to segmenting, so we want him to continue to practice hearing the sounds and words. So a school strategy for us to use in classroom is utilizing Elkanon boxes, which is just squares that represent the sounds that you hear in a word. So like for box, you would have 3 empty squares, and then you go through that word and you sound out the sounds in the word. So you would go ba, and when you make each sound, you move like a tally or just some object into the box. So ba, you would move one, ah, you would move one, and then x, you would move another one. And that's just helping them relate the sound in each word to, you know, a letter or whatever it is. And then a home strategy that you can use is playing a game where you say 3 words with either similar starting sounds, similar ending sounds, or similar sounds in the middle of the words. So you would say 3 words with some type of similar pattern, and then you have the student identify that similar sound. And another thing with that is you can challenge them, and you can have them, you can give them the sound and then have them come up with 3 words that have that sound. So that's again just to help him work on hearing sounds and words, continue to work on that and build upon that skill. And then for his third strength of being, you know, an active meaning maker, to help just strengthen that, we just need to acknowledge and validate his noticings as he reads and as he writes. So one way to do this at school would be to give him like sticky notes, so that as he's reading he could kind of write down little notes or draw pictures or anything that he, you know, any connections that he makes with the text or any patterns that he notices or anything like that. For example, in his one of the guided readings, we have it right here. He was reading this and he noticed that each sentence started with the word gym, and so that's like a noticing that he could write down, put a sticky note there, and then continue back. And then I would have him meet with me and we would kind of go over some of his sticky notes and what he noticed as he was reading. And then at home, kind of going along with that, but not as writing involved, would be to just participate in think alouds with him. So whenever you get together and you read a book, as you're reading, use all the skills that you use as a reader. So, but explicitly, like, say it out loud. So like make predictions out loud, ask questions out loud, summarize, evaluate the text, draw inferences, make outside connections that you have, and just any other comments that you think of as you're reading, say them out loud to just kind of help him have that model of what to do, and then invite him to do the same thing as you're reading too. And that'll definitely help with, you know, him to continue to be active as he's reading, as he's writing. I'm still trying to decide if I like So Delicious, Fizz, or Swig. I think Swig is 3rd place. Fizz and So Delicious, they're tied right now. Okay, so along with strengths, we always have areas where we need to improve. And so some things that I've noticed is one area that we could work on with Paw Patrol is that being able to blend sounds to form words. So he's really good at segmenting. So like we give him a word, he can hear all the sounds in that word, but he struggles a little bit with putting those sounds back together to form a word. So like with the early names test, we have some examples. Right here, the name was Ross Quest, and so I noticed as he would try to sound out the word. So he got Ross correct. When it came to quest, he sounded out and he went quest. But then when he tried to put it together, he just said quet, and he missed the S. And he did that with a couple of the words on here. He would try to put them back together and something would fall out or get flipped or something like that. So we just need to work on being able to blend the words, because as a fluent reader you need to be able to look at a word and, you know, kind of get that automatic, like, oh, I know this is this, I know this is this, so you can just read it instead of having to stop, segment the word and say it, because that just takes up more time, and then it kind of takes away from being able to comprehend the text as well, if you're so caught up in doing that. And then another area that he could work on is spacing in his writing. So here we have a writing sample of one of his works, and on this last line he says, I play freeze tag, but you'll notice that all of the words are just put together, so it looks like one long word. He's really good. His spacing between letters is really good, so they're not like bunched up, but he just needs to work on being able to have more spacing between the words and separation between the words, because that will help with being able to convey his messages in his writing. And I also noticed that with the sentence dictation task, some of the words got scrunched together again. So we just need to work on spacing between words. So when it comes to strategies that we can use for blending, in the school, I am going to work on playing a game. It's called What Am I Thinking Of? And so I have something in mind, like for example, frog, and I'm going to give hints, like I like to jump on lily pads, I have a really long tongue to eat flies, and then at the end I give the word, but I don't say it, I just say the sound. So I would say f, g, and then it's up to the kids to be able to blend that word and say the frog. So that'll help with blending for instruction in class time. And then at home, just provide repeated reading experiences with Paw Patrol, because we want him to be able to work on his fluency and just being able to automatically read words. And so if you repeat reading the same text, that'll really help, because then he will be able to notice those words and then be able to say them without having to segment them. And you can do this with books, you can do this just with environmental print too, so that's like a menu at a restaurant, or reading in the back of a cereal box, or reading signs and billboards as you're driving. So just get him to be reading as much as you can, and that'll help with the fluency part and the blending of words. And then for spacing, so at school, I'm going to be working with him in a small group, and we're going to do a mini lesson, just being able to demonstrate like the adequate amount of spacing between words and give him opportunity to practice that. And then at home, you can help him with this by demonstrating good spacing between words when you're writing notes, or when you're writing the grocery list, or just anything that you're writing. Make sure you kind of emphasize, like, oh, I put a space in between each word so that I can go back and I'm able to read it because it's clearly spaced out and I can read it. So just explicitly drawing attention to that, giving him that model again. And yeah, that's the gist. I love having Paw Patrol in our class. He's really just so loving and so kind and just so helpful. and I want to thank you for coming. I have this paper with all of the strategies that we talked about that you can work on at home, so you can use that as a reference. But don't feel limited to that, because you can always be doing other things as well. That's just to kind of give you some ideas. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me, email me, text, call. I'm here to help, and I look forward to keeping you updated with the progress that we make in class, and I hope that you'll be able to stay in contact with me, so you can share with me the successes, share with me the struggles, anything at all. I want to hear it all. You know, we are in this together. We are here to help Paw Patrol. So thank you. And see. And also, while you're here, no, really though, like Fizz and So Delicious, I don't know, they're tied. I feel like So Delicious has better cookies, but Fizz has some really cool kid drinks. Like if you ever go there, the images are just like really colorful and bright, and I always want to be a kid to get those, you know, so I don't know, they're tied. And also, Dr. Wimmer, I know you sent out an email telling us that we are your lollipop moment, so it's kind of cliche, but I want to say back to you that you have really been my lollipop moment this semester. Wow, I didn't think I would get choked up. I think it was like the first class period, maybe first week, sometime in there, you said something that really just stood out to me. I wrote it down. You said, "You are changing and adding to humanity. Be proud to be a teacher." And that's definitely just something that I needed to hear. And it really just kind of helped set my motivation for this semester, because I was kind of in like an area where I needed that. So thank you for that. And also just like little things throughout the semester, you've really helped. You've helped me remember like why I'm here and why I'm on this path to be a teacher. And sorry, last week sometime, it was like last Tuesday evening, my grandpa actually passed. And I just remember waking up the next morning and not wanting to go to class, and just not in the mood, you know. But I did, and as soon as I walked in, I felt peace. I felt calm. You have a very calming presence and a very supportive and positive presence, and that's what I needed at that time. And so thank you so much for that. But really, also, your fashion style is amazing. I would never say this to you face to face, so I'm saying it now in this recording, but you always look really good. You are my role model, which I've never really had like role models. I think that's super cliche, but you are, you know, my role model. And I really respect you as a professor, as a teacher, as a friend. So thank you.